It is time for the one and only, the premier, the only official podcast of Pro Rodeo. Your Chute Bosses are ready, so let's give it a go and talk some rodeo.
Hello everyone and welcome into another episode of the Chute Bosses. It's Tanner and Tracy. We're already on to episode 13 here on season number 2, Tracy. Believe it or not, summer run, it's right around the corner, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Reno's knocking on the door, and that's when they say the season starts, so to speak. I mean, especially...
It's when our lives end.
Yeah, it's when things get crazy busy, and they go into Cowboy Christmas, and it just keeps going until September 30th.
Yeah, and it's going to be, as you said, a marathon once you get to that point. Not only for us here at the PRCA and all of our staff, but the Cowboys are going up and down the road. Everyone's chasing Las Vegas. And speaking of Las Vegas, one guy that has a good chance to get back there, we're going to sit down and chat with Leighton Berry. He'll be our featured interview guest, and I can't wait for that because, I've been around a lot of guys in rodeo. He's one of the ones that, is just a good all-around dude, but also works his tail off to try and be the best he can be.
Yeah, I mean, he got to the NFR in 2020, won some rounds, and was knocking on the door. He hurt his back. He overcame some adversity, and, literally escaped severe injury. Missed basically the 21 season, but he's been back better than ever. And he just works at it. And when you mix talent with hard work, you get what Leighton Berry does. And now he's just missing that gold buckle.
Yep, and he'll have a chance to do it this year. Set number 1 in the world. We'll ask him what it takes to get there. Let's start the show off, Tracy, with our Pro Rodeo props. And, one of the premier events in Pro Rodeo that has just really grown every year since it started. It's the Veeder Financial Bronc match, the battle of the best up in Core School, California. And they're going to start things off with our Pro Rodeo props because they put on a heck of an event just last weekend.
Yeah, it's in a mountain town in California.
Top of the hill,
and Ryder Wright, wins over 12,500 in the finals. He comes off that huge San Angelo win, but just the money available for it's an NFR bronc riding basically.
Yeah.
All those guys there, 90% of them NFR guys, and give George Veeder credit. He kind of put that together and got
started
it
it from
through
nothing,
the PRCA and added a lot of money, probably a lot of his own money, honestly, and it means a lot to those guys in the world standings going down the road, and it's a huge spring rodeo for those guys to get a boost.
Well, you talk about Ryder Wright, he won, look at my numbers here, $15,566. He won that $12,800 for winning the short round of the finals, but also they pay pretty good for the sections as well. So, that right there is what you can get, maybe not even be able to get in an entire week during some of the summer weeks out there. So
right.
That's a huge payday.
And he won $10,000 at San Angelo in the Chute.
He's going to be right there in the world title race.
And honestly, Ryder Wright's kind of fallen off a little bit. People forget how good he is.
I wouldn't say fallen off. I would just say that, he's been right there, but he hasn't been able to get that next world title.
Right, he gets lost in the loop.
In the shuffle.
Wow,
yeah.
should he be the world champion? He won in 17, was phenomenal, 1 in 20, and he's always there. He just hasn't, seems like he hadn't been there recently, but, some of that has to do with draws at the NFR and different things. But he's one of the best guys going down the road, there's no question, and he's got on a heater. Can he sustain that? In Vegas, he's done it before in 17. In 20, he did it in Arlington. But
in 21, you probably soon to forget, Tracy. I know Stetson beat him on the last night.
Right, exactly.
He would have won another world title in 21.
Had he placed a little higher in the round, Stetson had to have like 5 things happen.
And they all
did. And because I remember we couldn't even believe.
Yeah, Stetson only
won.
Beat him by like less than $1,000, I think.
Yeah, and at least it went to his brother. Obviously, Stetson's not hurting for world titles. But Ryder Wright's one of the best going down the road. And I've argued in columns I've written for here in editors' letters that he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
he's
no
won
doubt.
world championships. He's been 8 times to the NFR. It's just a matter of solidify his resume. Can he get a third one? But guys like that, I don't think he'd ever won the Veeder if I'm thinking right.
No,
And so you get a boost like that, a guy this good, then he's only going to get better, you would assume, through the Cowboy Christmas run.
Yeah, now he's in that top 3 for the world title race, so we'll keep an eye on that. And the bronc riding is just so tough as it is, so going to be interesting to watch that one shake out. Let's jump into the short round, Tracy, and this is one of my favorite programs that Pro Rodeo has in the PRCA. It's the Sowing Good Deeds presented by Heston and Massey Ferguson. This is an event where, or an event, I guess, a contest where rodeo just wants to highlight rodeo committees doing great things, man.
Yeah.
Out in their community, offering, whether it's volunteer opportunities, giving back to high schools, different things like that, just putting on a great rodeo. And it's a great opportunity for rodeo committees across the country, regardless of size.
Yeah, and they win a tractor. If they win the award, they announce at the awards banquet in Vegas. It's a huge deal.
It is.
And it's a big, especially for a smaller rodeo. Imagine getting a brand new tractor.
Well, yeah, depending on how much it is, you're talking, tens of thousands of dollars right there.
It's not like small rodeo committees are just rolling out writing checks for big tractors, and imagine how much that helps your rodeo. So it's great recognition, and it's good to recognize people that do this out of the goodness of their heart. 90% of the people that do rodeos are volunteers. I mean,
exactly.
They're not paid guys getting rich, especially at the smaller rodeos. So can't say enough for the Sowing Good Deeds program.
Yeah, and if you want to submit an application for your rodeo, those entries are due September 1st. And as Tracy said, everyone will get a banner that applies. You can throw up a Heston banner inside your rodeo arena, but if you're the lucky winner, take home an awesome tractor. So we encourage you all to go out and apply for that. And then Tracy, it seems like this short round lately, we've just been stacking on top of injuries to some of the pro rodeo's biggest and best. And, we have a couple more, and we start with bareback rider Cade Saunier. Obviously, I don't think this one's going to keep him out for the year, a spiral fracture in his thumb after a ride down in Guyman. But still unfortunate for Saunier because he's also one of those bareback riders chasing a gold buckle.
Yeah, he was right there last year. He finished third in the world. And he kind of came out of nowhere. We knew he was talented, but he won Cheyenne and he won Calgary. He started stacking stuff up, and just a great rider. And you never want to see guys hurt, and he even mentioned it in the story that was written on ProRodeo.com. If there's ever a time to get hurt, is in the spring, in this little gap.
Yeah, before it really, month and a half
really starts hitting it hard in Reno. Reno being like the last week of June, and then it goes into Cowboy Christmas, because that's when the payouts start coming around. And obviously Calgary's huge.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That's Calgary and the NFR Open are two game changers in the standings. So he'll be back, I'm sure. The problem is you miss a little time, and then you got to shake the rust off.
Yeah, and he's got a little girl too, so he said it was kind of a blessing in disguise. Get to spend a little time with Calgary.
She's named Calgary with a K too.
Yeah, that's
so I'm
awesome.
sure that was tied into the rodeo, but yeah, it's fantastic for him to get to spend time with his family.
Yep, unfortunate injury, but hopefully he gets to take a little something more out of that. That's for sure. Another injury guy we have to talk about: 8-time NFR qualifier Ty Erickson, steer wrestler, going to miss a pretty decent chunk of change here, Tracy. About 2 months, 8 weeks time frame, somewhere in there. Broke his ankle on a run down in Clovis, and he said it was just kind of a freak accident. And I guess Alex Dowd, who just started with us here at the PRCA, he mentioned that it seems like since he's got here, he's written, he's going to be a doctor by the end of this with so many injuries. But a little bit of a different procedure to fix that broken ankle for Erickson, but he's going to miss a pretty key stretch of rodeo here.
Yeah, and ultimately, as he said in the story, he wants to be back by July, like Calgary, NFR Open, because he's a star in the Montana circuit and wins it every year, and he'll be at the NFR Open or he's qualified already. Mm-hmm. So you want to have that opportunity, and then you want to mix in Calgary. Those are the two huge rodeos. He probably could be back then. It's a little different with the ankle, I would imagine, than Saunier with a thumb.
Well, especially in steer wrestling.
Because you're jumping off the horse and running.
And planting your feet.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You're running. Yeah, where are you running to in steer wrestling?
Well, you're still moving your feet.
Yeah,
you still gotta be involved with it. It's not like you're team roping. And taking nothing away from team roping, but and Ty's a big guy. He's 6'6", 250. Nicest guy in the world, so you hate to see it happen to him, but hopefully he can get back to the NFR.
Yeah, you mentioned, in steer wrestling, it's not necessarily a run, but they're jumping off their horse at 25 miles an hour, planting their feet in the ground, trying to hold on to the horns of a steer. So
yeah, it's almost like being on a motorcycle, literally, and jumping off the seat.
And saying, good luck, hold on to something.
Good luck. It becomes an art. The guys who do it well,
here's a 700-pound animal.
But imagine if you're 6'6", jumping, and there's a lot of moving parts, so to speak.
Yeah, and we hope those guys the best. They can get back, get healthy, make a good summer run, and hopefully we'll see them both back at the NFR. That leads us into our 8-question segment, Tracy. We're going to sit down with one of the guys that you had a lot of time to spend with at the National Circuit Final Steer Roping, Scott Snedecor.
Yeah, Snedecor is one of the best to do it in steer roping. I always say Hall of Fame. He's a 4-time world champion. Last two were in 17 and 18. He knocked on the door to win multiple world championships. His first two were in 5 and 8. He beat legendary Guy Allen by like $1.32 for his first title, which was insane.
And if you're beating Guy Allen for a world title, you're doing something right.
And he's always had great horses, so it was good to catch up with him, and he almost won the National Circuit Finals in Torrington again. He came up a little short in the Final Four. He won it in 2023. So he's just a mainstay in steer roping and one of the best doing it.
Yep, let's do it. Let's go to our 8-question segment with Scott Snedecor.
Favorite movie?
Golly, Lonesome Dove.
Favorite restaurant?
Roadhouse.
Favorite horse you've ridden in the PRCA?
Big time.
What's your favorite rodeo?
Deadwood.
Favorite
Deadwood Pendleton, sorry.
Gotcha. Favorite hobby outside of rodeo?
Hunting coyotes.
Describe steer roping in one word.
Awesome.
Favorite ice cream?
Chocolate.
Who would you want to play you in a movie?
You know what comes to his mind? I ain't got no idea.
Farm life means always hoping for the best, but planning for uncertainty. You have to be ready for the next everything, the next dawn, the next season, the next harvest, the next technology, the next challenge, and the next generation. No matter what comes your way, we can help keep you ready for the next.
And Scott's one of those guys, Tracy, that just has that mentality to him to be a world champion.
Yeah.
You know, it's the work ethic, it's the drive and determination, but he also knows how to have fun and, you know, enjoy the down moments that rodeo provides.
Yeah, and he takes a businessman's approach.
He does.
He has a sense of humor, and he's easy to get along with once you know him. But like when he shows up at the arena, like, he's in his element, he's in his zone. Like you can tell.
It's like
that,
Tim O'Connell. You
Yeah.
can talk to him about 45 minutes before the rodeo, but if you get inside that 30-minute mark,
yeah,
just go
it's
ahead and
like
cut it
just
off.
walk away, and that's how Snedecor is. But that's
Yeah.
what usually guys that are world champions.
Exactly.
They're able to turn on that light switch. They can turn it on and off. And Snedecor, like I said, and outside of Trevor Brazil, like he literally was going up against Michael Jordan during his steer roping career
Yeah.
and still got 4 world titles. And he was close several times with Trevor, and Trevor won 8. So I mean, it just tells you how good Snedecor is. And I mean, he's not going anywhere. He's still one of the best in the business.
Yep, and we'll have much more coming your way here on the Chute Bosses. We're going to take a quick little break. We come back, we'll have your historic NFR moment. We will also sit down on the back end of the show and talk with the #1 ranked bareback rider in the world, Leighton Berry. All that coming your way right after the break.
In 1936, a group of cowboys and cowgirls came together for the common good of rodeo. They accomplished a feat that sparked a fire of greatness in countless Western athletes. Today, the Western lifestyle burns on in our contestants' and fans' hearts and souls. We aim to preserve the cowboy code and keep the Western lifestyle alive. Together as one, we are ProRodeo.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast, the official podcast of ProRodeo. And Tracy, how about this? We're kicking things off with, we've got an Instagram page now for the Chute Bosses.
Wow. Well,
Got like 60 followers, but that thing's going to shoot through the roof before too long.
Yeah, I mean, and that was part of it. We didn't do a lot of promotion with the Chute Bosses. Now we got a lot of people involved. Andrew Rosario and Alex Dodd is joining in, and Chris Doolin, our new videographer. And you're going to say something about me saying videographer because I'm old school. But we have all these people
Just
involved.
throws an extra O in there. It's fine.
So give it some love. So we have all these things involved, so I'm excited. Instagram's where it is. I mean, you know better
no
than
doubt.
anybody. That's where all this stuff happens in social media.
Yeah, so make sure you go check out the Chute Bosses page. We'll be putting a lot of behind-the-scenes access content on there. We'll also be asking you to send in viewer questions, and we'll get to our questions here later on down the show. But Tracy, we kick off segment 2 with our ProRodeo Hall of Fame Spotlight, and this is a guy that's well-known in the sport of rodeo, still well-known, and one of the greatest of all time, 2000 inductee Joe Beaver, 8-time PRCA World Champion, 3 of those in the all-around, 5 coming in the tie-down roping, and Joe B is just, a legend when it comes to tie-down roping.
Yeah, I mean, he was like Trevor Brazil before Trevor Brazil. I mean, he started doing things, and he's just great at everything he did it. I mean, Vegas, they call it the house that Joe built, the Thomas and Mack. I mean, he did so many great things there, and then he mentors a lot of ropers.
I was getting ready to say the same
John
thing.
Dausch, I mean, he basically mentored Dausch to the point where he is, and I mean, I know Dausch still keeps in touch with him, like before every run. There's a lot of younger kids out there that Joe B helps, and Joe's just a good guy. He's good for rodeo. He does a lot of announcing at the NFR, and he's been around the sport forever, but he he's just one of those guys. When you think of tie-down roping and all-around cowboy, Joe Beaver comes to mind.
Yeah, it kind of throws us back to 1985. Joe Beaver, age of 20, went to his first NFR, won the Resistol Rookie of the Year, went on to win his first world title, and, you already mentioned it, but Thomas and Mack, famously named, the house that Joe built, and, that's continuing to see his legacy live on in the tie-down roping, and it's just one of those guys that Tracy, once he got done with rodeo, he didn't just put it aside. A lot of guys will just put it aside, go on with their life, they move on, whatever. But Joe B, he helps the next generation. He's involved in the broadcast. His legacy has really just continued since he got out of the sport, since he retired.
I mean, he's just given back so much to the sport, and is on his own volition. And when you look at his highlights and you look at what he's did in the clutch moments, I mean, it's hard to argue with anything he does. He's one of the best ever.
Yep, no doubt about it. And one of the historic moments that we like to keep an eye on here in Pro Rodeo, we'll get Andrew to fire up our screen here behind us, Tracy, but we're going to take a look at one of the bulls that really got things started here in Pro Rodeo. Some of the biggest rides we've had at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. We're going to let this play through once and let the announcers kind of carry it and take it away, and then we'll jump in and just kind of break down what we see. But we're going back to the 2001 National Finals Rodeo. Round 1, Bluestone on Mr. USA of Gilbert Diamond G Rodeos, and then we'll go on to round 10, and then we'll just kind of break it down. But here's a good look at Bluestone for you. We'll get things kicked off here in our historic NFR moment.
Surprised the announcers weren't a little more excited.
Yeah, that one goes for 94 points. That was in round 1, Bluestone on Mr. USA. And that kind of set the tone for what kind of NFR Mr. USA was going to have, because he became a superstar at the NFR.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that ride was the recovery. I mean, he got dropped
Well, the bull
down.
stumbled, Deanna. We'll have that kind of leads us into our viewer question we'll talk about later. But, yeah, he stumbled, and he was able to keep his composure.
He's down in, and, like, those bulls, and he started spinning, and I mean, he's one of the best bulls going right there, and he obviously proves it here. In round 10, Cody Hancock gets on board Mr. USA.
Yeah, and this is where things get crazy, Tracy, is, Mr. USA, we mentioned they started it off in round 1, and then the bulls usually go for round 5, round 10, round 1, you'd be maybe in round 6 again, but they said, all right, let's go ahead and save Mr. USA for round 10, and having a little trouble playing the video, but, this was a point where Cody Hancock blew the roof off the Thomas and Mack.
Well,
96 points, Tracy.
He still has the record. I mean, you see part of it here. I mean, my gosh. I mean, the bull was just jumping so high. I've seen this video before because he's carried on to do great things and still has the record at 96. But imagine a 96. I mean, 96 is. I mean, we've seen Stetson.
Was he 94.5 on Chisel?
Yeah. I believe it.
2021.
And Sage Kimsey, I believe, was 93 on Bruiser. And I'm trying to think of the year of the NFR. I think it was 19. But, I mean, 96, I mean, that's the next level for a bull rider. And to get up that high, and you have to have cooperation with the bull. So.
Yeah, we had a little technical difficulty. So we won't get to watch that last ride, but you can make sure to go in and check it out yourself. It's all over the internet, and yeah, you can go and check it out, that's for sure. Tracy, in our historic NFR moments, this is something we're going to continue to try and do. We want to highlight those moments in Las Vegas that, really just, stole the show. The ones people never forget, Cody Ohl, round 9, trying to go out there, makes a 40-second run, has to cut the rope, but, tears his ACL. But he won the world title. So, this is something we're going to try and continue to do here on the show.
Yeah, I mean, Ed Bauer, Cool Alley, you go down the list of round 10s. I mean, usually most of the historic moments that got guys to world championships happen in round 10, but the NFR is full of memorable moments, and we're glad to have this segment on the show.
Yeah, and we'll continue to have those. Leads right into our viewer question, and we always want to remind you guys, we talked about it off the top of the show. We have an Instagram page now. It's the Chute Bosses, but also, we have a YouTube page. We have all the PRCA Pro Rodeo social media channels. You can go in and ask your questions or jump on our, YouTube, just in the comments of a previous show, and just ask us a question. We'd love to answer it for you. Our viewer question today comes from Alex on YouTube, and the question here, Tracy, which it can be a little bit of the discretion of the judge or a Pro Rodeo official, but what does it take to get a re-ride? And this is something where, there's a lot of different factors and situations that can result in a reride. Obviously you start something off with, does the animal fall or stumble, coming out? I would say that's probably the most common reason that we see reride in pro rodeo.
Or they get crazy in the chute, like they just they aren't rideable. But yeah, exactly. The stumble is usually the most obvious one. Or sometimes if the horse or bull just doesn't buck at all for whatever reason, they'll get a reride, especially at the NFR or bigger rodeos. But yeah, it's subjective, but usually it's fairly obvious. I mean, usually it's not rocket science. Usually it's fairly obvious.
Yeah, and you mentioned though, so we have the fall, we have the stumble as a possible reride option. Then if the animal comes out and say hits his hip on the chute, or the rider somehow gets pushed back into the chutes, that could constitute as a reride. And then also it can be a reride if the judges just feel that the animal's performance was, not up to par. The animal didn't come out and give the rider a fair chance to win the round. You mentioned we see that at the NFR a lot. Not necessarily the animal falling or stumbling, but the animal just doesn't have his trip, and it results in, say, a 65 or a 70-point ride. And the judges have to come together and say, was this cowboy given an honest opportunity to win the round, because the animal didn't do his job. And so sometimes they'll run another one in for him.
And it gets frustrating with guys because some guys think they deserve rerides and they don't, and especially at the NFR. I mean, because there's so much at stake and so much money involved. And I don't envy the judges because people, as you've learned, and you're watching rodeos like at the NFR and you see it up close. It's kind of like watching an NFL game.
Yeah, trying to make a split decision.
Things happen so fast on TV. It's like football or basketball. Things happen slow, so to speak. But when you're there in person, it's like split second. Like you're watching and like, oh my gosh, like so.
Do I throw the orange flag?
So, and I know there's other elements involved, but it's a tough job. So I don't envy the judges, and they do a great job.
Yeah, they do, and we can't thank the pro rodeo officials enough for the ones we have here full time at the PRCA that go out and all across the country that go to our 700 plus rodeos. You making what do you got going on over there?
I've got famous people texting me and emailing me, and I forgot I had my phone. Well, that's what happens when I'm on the Chute Bosses.
I don't believe you got any famous people. And one person that is starting to become infamous, that's Buck Tracy, and he's up to something.
Yeah, Buck's going to talk, I think, about secondary education today.
Secondary education,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah,
does he have any?
Yeah, that's an iffy question. Those records are probably sealed, but we'll get down to Buck and see what he has to say.
No doubt. We go to Buck. He's got your Pro Rodeo word of the day.
I'm Buck, official correspondent for the Chute Bosses, the official podcast of the PRCA. My word for the day is college, as in the College National Finals Rodeo in June, and a lot of those college guys become superstars for us and world champions. The closest Buck has ever got to college is when I was in 9th grade art class and I drew a collage and got a B. Take state, Buck.
Cowboying is in our blood. Cowboying is in our bruises. It's in our rain-soaked jackets. In our calloused hands, tested by barbed wire and rope. Our mud-stained boots to the crown of our resist-all hat. You live out west for even the shortest time, and there's one thing you learn. You can't pretend out here. Resist all. We live it every day.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast. And Tracy, we talked about it off the top of the show. We're going to sit down with the number one ranked man in the world, bareback rider, Leighton Berry. And, what a start to the season Leighton's had. And it obviously got things kicked off in a huge way by winning Rodeo Houston.
Yeah, he's been one of the best bareback riders going since 2020, and I mean the only thing missing for him is probably that world title, that coveted gold buckle, but winning Rodeo Houston definitely helps his 2024 season for sure.
No doubt about it. Leighton joining us right now here on the Chute Bosses podcast. Leighton, we appreciate it, man. We know that you guys probably enjoying a little bit of downtime before the crazy summer run, so we appreciate you taking a couple minutes with us.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be on here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, first one thing I want to ask you, Leighton, is, hey, nice plug right there at the community coffee. I like that. Let's talk a little bit about your rodeo career up to this point. Obviously you're still chasing that gold buckle, but you've had so much success in your time in rodeo. Take me through what that journey's been like for you to get to this point, man.
It's definitely had its ups and downs, but at the end of the day, I truly believe I have the best job in the world, and it's been a crazy adventure so far, and yeah, we're still chasing that gold buckle, but we're here in the same position that we were in last year, sitting in the gunner seat right now, #1 in the world, which obviously feels good, but job's not finished, and got a lot to do before we get to the ending point. But it's been a good year so far. Been blessed, been healthy, feeling good. So getting ready to roll into this summer, and I'm super excited.
Well, you had family involved in rodeo, obviously following in the footsteps. Is this something you knew you were always going to do? Is this the goal from, since you're crawling out of the crib?
You could probably say that, yeah. I was horseback from the time that I was, before I was 5 years old. I was moving cattle around and riding calves and steers just like any other little rodeo kid. But as I grew up roping calves and team roping, always had a hunch for the rough stock events. And once I kind of hung up the dream of being a professional bull rider, I obviously had my dad, Kirby, who was a great bareback rider, and he had a rigging bag full of gear that I could kind of try for myself. And once I got into high school and got to be about a sophomore, I was really wanting to go for some all-arounds, and I thought it'd be pretty neat to work both ends of the arena. So that's kind of where the bareback riding dream took off for me. And then, God had a plan, and as college came around, I worked all 3 events, and then slowly decided that, I'll always be a cowboy, and I'll probably always rope the rest of my life, but I've got plenty of time to pursue that after my career in bareback riding. And right now, this is all I really crave to do, and it's what I'm just going to keep pursuing and hopefully get a gold buckle.
Yeah, we talked about your bareback riding career and where you're at now, but, it was almost derailed, that injury, that scary injury you had when the horse kind of backed you back into the chutes. It suffered a back injury. How tough was that to get through that, Leighton, and get back to feeling healthy, to trust in your back, trust in your whole system there?
It was a crazy deal. Obviously, it's something that you don't wish upon anybody, including yourself, but it happened. It happened for a reason. I was very lucky that it didn't completely take me out of competition or let alone could have been a lot worse. Could be in a wheelchair, or, variables are pretty wide and far. But honestly, I just take it as a blessing because it taught me a lot during the 8 months that I had to sit out, and really fueled my fire. Missing that NFR after Texas, I got, it came back to Vegas, and I had to watch it on TV. So overall, I take that year as honestly one of my best because it really taught me a lot about drive and dedication, determination to really turn the heat up and mash on the gas, and learn how to get my body back in shape and keep my mind right and focus on going to the right rodeos and getting on the right horses. So that definitely probably was the platform for, what's going to be the rest of my career. And I'm lucky to, be able to continue doing what I'm doing, and, hopefully I avoid, a serious injury like that, but you never know. Tomorrow is never promised. So you got to keep going at each horse like it's your last one. And I have a plan on having a long, healthy career from here on out based off of my knowledge from that injury. But yeah, it's made me stronger. It's made me better mentally and physically. So I definitely take it as a blessing.
Well, you've had some changes in your life recently. I believe you just got married, right? For a couple hey, got married?
Yeah, married man now. My beautiful wife, Cody, we hit a month yesterday. We've been together, and we're finally going to take off to Mexico next week for our honeymoon. So little reset before the summer starts.
Good deal,
Nice.
Good deal. Congratulations, Leighton.
Yeah.
One thing I want to know a little bit about, obviously you have a pretty good social media following. This workout routine, man, you're putting, I think Cody is her name as well. You're putting her through the grinder as well. Take me through how you kind of develop that, and, what makes you push yourself so hard and then jump in that ice tub.
Yeah, no, I think obviously if you're going to do the most physically demanding sport in rodeo and maybe in the world, you obviously want to be in the best shape as possible. And, I've always had an interest in fitness ever since I was in high school, but I've literally, my close friends that have known me for a long time will know that there was a time where I wanted to be a big, strong calf roper, bulldogger, everything. And I was weighing about 185 to 190 and just lifting weights and eating a lot of protein and trying to be big and strong, and then realized I needed to be, faster and more agile for my bareback riding. So I shaved off a bunch of weight and learned how to get lean and fast. And now I find, myself sitting at the weight that I want to sit at. And now I'm just focused on, keeping my body loose, making sure that I'm strong, fast, and agile, and, getting up every day and putting in the work really just helps me mentally more than anything. It makes me believe when I show up to the rodeo that I'm prepared. And I think at the end of the day, that's all you want to be is prepared, regardless if you have the best horse or maybe the buckiness horse there, a hard to ride eliminator. You want to show up knowing that your body is ready to kind of be put through the test. And yeah, whether it's my wife or my little brother comes over here every day, even my little Jack Russell, he loves getting on the treadmill with me. So if you're going to come through the Berry Ranch over here, you gotta go into the gym and get after it. So we pride ourselves on being hard workers, and hard work always pays off. So we're just going to continue that and into our success.
It's probably the misnomer. A lot of people think, oh, cowboys just show up, they ride horses, they go out, drink beer, have fun, late nights. And the technology, the way everything's changed in rodeo, you speak on that. If you want to be one of the best in the world, you got to put the work in.
Absolutely. And we love to have a great time too. I'm not one that's, going to be strict 24/7. I think, this is a really neat sport. You get to be surrounded by some great people, and you put the work in, you go be 90 and win the rodeo. It's okay to go over to the beer stand and maybe have you a drink with your buddies. It's the good times like that going down the road that you always remember. But at the end of the day, like I said, hard work's going to pay off. And I'm not saying that it necessarily makes me better than anybody, but the more prepared I can know for myself when I show up, I feel like it always just gives me an edge. And you talk about the cold plunge thing, my good friends like to give me a lot of heck about it because, I like putting it out there, but I ask them at the same time, I'm like, is this something that, you're willing to do every day? And most of them can't say that they do. So, like I said, just any edge I can get on my own mental competition edge and on my competitors always is a plus. You got to have a fighter's mentality sometimes. So I'm just going to keep figuring out ways to keep sharpening that blade.
And Leighton, we've talked so many times about the huge wins that you've had in your career. One of those wins came here in 2024. I had a chance to chat with you right after you win Rodeo Houston, $50,000. We'll ask you about that a little bit, but we're going to actually pull up your ride on Agent Links to capture that win. But what was that moment like for you getting a win like that?
It was huge. It was one of those things I truly believe that I mentally put it into perspective, and winning Rodeo Houston once is a pretty big deal, obviously, but coming back the second year and being able to do it again is crazy. But honestly, if a lot of people ask me what I thought about it, I really expected that out of myself. As I kept progressing, I just had a good feeling, and I knew, kind of had my mind set on a couple of horses in that 4-man. Agent Links, they had just won the American on that horse, and the previous year that I won it on Yippee Kibitz, they had just won the American on her, so it was kind of the one I had my eye on. And when I won the 10-man and knew that was a horse I was getting on, I was prepared and ready to go. I just had that horse in the 10th round of the NFR, and I know that horse is going to let you showcase your spur ride style every time, so that's kind of the one you want right now.
Leighton, can you see the ride up on your screen?
It's not playing, but I can see
Okay,
it.
we don't have it playing yet. Tracy, why don't we go ahead and take a look at this? You can just kind of watch it through here for the first time, yeah.
So obviously Rodeo Houston, the crazy thing about that is just how many fans are there. That's got to be electric for you guys. But here comes the ride. Talk us through it, Leighton. What was this like?
Yeah, that horse always leads the box super, super hard. You got to really be on your game. When you hit the bottom of your nod, you're usually 2 jumps in. That horse is athletic as they make them. Super hard neck. I've really just never been on a horse that is quite got the fire like Agent Links does. He's not a huge horse. He's not, really rider difficult, but obviously you can see how fast he's moving and turning to the left and kicking over his head. So he's one that you can, show off your style. And, every time I get on that horse, I feel like I can ride him better. That was my 3rd time to be on him. I've always had a nice high score and either won the rodeo or won second, but that's a horse that every time he's by your name, for a fact you got a chance to win first. And like I said, coming into that 4-man, knowing I had that one, I kind of just, without being, cocky or anything in my own mind, I just said, this is the one I want, and I'm here to win first, and got to go last and showcase it on a great horse. And, you got to give props to everyone at the Calgary Stampede. They seem like they just keep knocking out great bloodlines every year. Every year you see awesome Calgary colts coming up. So pretty special to get the 2nd win in a row on a Calgary bucking horse. And that one's definitely one of my favorites.
Leighton, what do we got to do to get a hat throw out of you, man? I think right there you just kind of opened your vest and, give it a flex. What do we got to do to get that hat off of Leighton Barry's head?
If Tilton Hooper would give me his secrets to his hair success, then maybe I would start throwing my hat a little bit more. But And I'm not very good at hooping and hollering, but when we're in the gym and we're having a hard workout, it's sometimes you just got to pull your chest out and give a good yell. And sometimes I just get caught up in the moment and get fired up in my own mind, knowing that I accomplished a huge goal that I had set. So doing the little Superman, it wasn't really on purpose, but in my mind, it was going through. I said, I did it. We're here. And I guess the first thing I thought or knew that I was going to jump to number one in the world. And then, I had that Kobe Bryant mentality kind of going through my mind that says, okay, go get your saddle, but the job's not finished. You did this last year and you fell short of a gold buckle, and, you're blessed to have another chance and a huge jump. So let's go kind of finish it out and keep in mind that the job's not done and you still got work to do.
Outside of, winning the gold buckle, and you've run Rodeo Houston multiple times, is there a rodeo out there that you want to check off your bucket list? This year or just in your career that, man, I got to win this before I hang it up?
There definitely is a couple of rodeos I have on my sights. As far as the building rodeos go, I'd really like to win Fort Worth. It's literally 45 minutes from my house. That's obviously a coveted buckle to win, and I'd really like to win that one in the winter. As far as the summer goes, obviously probably the two biggest outdoor rodeos, Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Pendleton, the Pendleton Roundup. Mainly Pendleton. I think that's one of the most cowboy rodeos. I think a lot of guys would say the same. That's one I really got my sights set on, and Lord willing, I'll have the right horses underneath me at both of them and maybe get both of them done. But either way, before my career's over, if I could get those buckles, I would be super happy with it.
Obviously, as we look towards the end of the 2024 season, still so much rodeoing left to go. But, Leighton, what will it take for you to find a way to break through and win that gold buckle this year? I know if you knew it, you'd obviously do it. But, what do you think it'll take, including those 10 grueling days in Las Vegas?
I think it's just going to take doing exactly what I've been doing, just putting in the hard work, learning more about my body and my mental, edge each and every day, going through these hard workouts, understanding the entering system better, making sure I'm getting on the right horses and taking advantage of every opportunity. I'm going to be traveling with Cole Reiner and Tilden Hooper this year. So I've got some good guys that I'm good friends with that it's going to make a lot of fun going up and down the road. And I plan on just being smart, and instead of being so caught up and worried about what's going on in the standings, I'm just going to keep a low profile and keep nodding my head with the, same goal in mind, which is win first every single time. And honestly, anything can happen leading up all the way to that 10th horse at the NFR. So my plan is just to keep riding strong, keep working on my, physical body and my mental aspects on everything, and have fun more than anything. This is a really fun sport. I'm 25 years old and having a great time. And, I know I got a lot left in the tank, but I think this is the year that I step up to the plate and start doing what I was born for, which is win. And, obviously we got a long road to go, and there's a hell of a field of bareback riders right now, but I feel really confident, and Lord willing, we'll get over to the NFR in Las Vegas and smash 10 head and get a gold buckle.
You're just going to have to keep Tilden and Cole out of trouble.
That's probably going to be half the battle. Yes, absolutely.
Got a couple more, Tracy.
Yeah, you mentioned in Vegas. What's that like when you guys can go for rounds? And I know that they're going to announce fairly soon what the financial payout's going to be moving forward with the NFR. Obviously, they've signed the agreement. They don't know the financial terms yet, but you guys are going to be going for over, maybe up to $35,000 for round winners starting in this year. What's that like when you get in there? It's almost like Rodeo Houston in one ride each night and, 10 rounds. So, you can move up the standings instantly. And then the average pays, $80,000 or whatever it may be. What's that like for you guys in the strategy and just with that much money available and to move up from 15 to 1?
It's huge, obviously, and the NFR really is our bread and butter. You can definitely make a living these days rodeoing throughout the year, but obviously you really want to be in that top 15 because you can pretty much round up what you've made all year and sometimes even double it once you get to the NFR. It's exciting, the payout, that it keeps growing. Before I started pro rodeo, and I told my dad that I think that seeing a $50,000 go round, is going to be possible in my lifetime, in my career, and hopefully we do get to see that. And you never know, maybe one day they'll be paying the world champion a $100,000 bonus or more. So I think the way the PRCA is moving up each and every year, and all these great rodeos are getting added, and now we're having all these soul events. Rodeo, I think it'd be hard to say that it's not blowing up right now. and it's a great time to be a bareback rider. The bareback riding field is expanding yearly. A lot of young kids coming up, making it really tough on us, which helps us get better too. But that, the payouts at the NFR, it makes it exciting because you can be the 15th guy in the world, and you know that if you go in there and really kick some butt, you still have a chance just like anybody else. And that's what I love about it, is it's not necessarily about coming in with a huge lead. Obviously that helps, and that's my plan. But once I get to the NFR, it becomes a battle between yourself and 14 other guys. And honestly, I mean, it's the proof's in the pudding. Every year you usually see the guy that has the best NFR come out with that gold buckle. So once you get there, regardless of if you're first in the world or 15th, you know what the job is, and you got 10 head coming up, and you need to do well on all 10 of them, and hopefully walk away with a couple go rounds in that average. That way you can still get that gold buckle with your name on it.
No doubt about it. Well, Leighton, man, we can't thank you enough. We know that you got a busy day going, so we really appreciate it. I know Tracy and I do, and we love watching you ride, man. You go out there, do your thing, and a great person and a great ambassador for the sport of rodeo, so we can't thank you enough, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and same to y'all. Thank y'all for everything you do, and this is a really fun podcast. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, where can they find you at? Leighton, give a shout out to some of your socials and where people can catch you.
Pretty simple. You can hop on my Instagram or my Facebook page. Just Leighton Berry. You can find me on there. And if you're interested in a roll-off dumpster, now I'm currently in the roll-off dumpster business. So you can go to rollereliable.com and get on there and rent you a dumpster in the Parker County area, and I'll hook you up with that.
Nice. Thanks, Leighton, man. We really appreciate it. And best of luck down there, and hopefully we'll see you on the road.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Thanks,
there we
Leighton.
go. There it is, Leighton Barry, Tracy. And, you just hear him talk about it, and it's just such a passion for rodeo, but it's such a good, positive attitude to take into everything he does.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the work that he's put in. I mean, a lot of guys, like I said, there's this misnomer. Sure, there's guys with talent, but the guys that ultimately put in the most work usually get rewarded for it. Leighton's been right there on the cusp of winning a gold buckle. He's had to overcome, obviously, the back injury, but he's been in the NFR multiple times. He's got the experience. Then it just becomes down, like he was saying, down to the draws at the NFR. There's so much money there to be won, and can you be consistent? Can you win the rounds? Can you do enough to win the gold buckle? Because, I mean, barring anything crazy, he'll be back in Vegas. Now can you just finish the job? And it's not that he doesn't want to finish the job. It's just it's about the pieces falling into place, and can you win that gold buckle? That's why it's so difficult now to win gold buckles, because back in the day you could go in with the big lead and probably have an average NFR and still win a gold buckle. Now that's not the case because there's just so much money in the round wins and the average. So, and he knows that, and be a great thing, great story for us if Leighton Berry can get that gold buckle.
Yeah, I'd love to see the bareback riding race shake out. It's going to be a fun one headed through the summer and into Las Vegas. We'll make sure to follow it all along with you right here on the Chute Bosses. And just a reminder, you can catch the show anywhere on your favorite podcast platforms, or you can jump on the PRCA YouTube page. All of our shows will be on there. And we also have a new Instagram page, so make sure you go check that out. Follow, ask questions, whatever you want to do, and we'll make sure to get it here on the show. But that's going to do it for another round of the Chute Bosses. Until then, keep on rodeoing.